Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Aaron, for this. I was actually moved by seeing that because, I usually do the work and I don't look back. I keep on moving forward. But thank you. This is it's nice to hear from you. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. I'd just like to tell you that I'm Lebanese by birth, and then I also carry a U.S. citizenship, and I lived in the United States 18 years where I did my schooling. Back in the early 80s, I left Beirut, and it was becoming very messy at that time. So we had the debate at my family, and I told my mom I would like to go study film. And then they said, where would you like to go? I said, I prefer to go to the United States. My dad wanted me to go to France because it was cheaper, because it was closer. And yeah. And then I ended up studying in the United States. I studied and started working on a lot of movies. So I am by training, this is what I did. I worked on more than 50 movies in the United States as an assistant cameraman. And then the third act of my story, I settled down in France. So I do carry three citizenship, the Lebanese, the French, and the American. And I'm in a constant juggling between those three culturally. And I think certainly when you have the ambiguity and the excitement about those three citizenship, certainly it gives me want to continue writing about me being mixed in the middle. Sometimes it feels it's a blessing. Sometimes carrying those three citizenship, you feel you're not so well understood in one particular culture. So when I go to Lebanon, I'm not so well understood. When I come to the United States, I'm also not so well understood. And in France, the same thing. Yet, I managed to continue doing our storytelling. It's the most important thing for me in my life. Look, I have to tell you, 2024 was a very difficult year for me emotionally. I have grown through a lot of battles in Beirut. I lived through all kind of occupation, the Syrian occupation, the Israeli occupation, the Hezbollah occupation. We've been through it all. 2024 was really, honestly, I could tell you, was probably the only time where I kind of lost hope a little bit because what was going on in the Middle East, it was very difficult for me. Emotionally, it was very difficult, especially that mom and dad still live in Beirut. Yet I find that the only way to get through those difficult times is to go back to writing and to continue working, because I think this is the only thing I know how to do. It's just to go work in film. And the subjects that I write about are not easy to finance because most of my films do not employ known American actors or French actors. So it's always related. The financing is also related to who do you want to hire, somebody who's bankable, they say. And yet I managed to swim along those rough tide. And I think if I owe somebody the most is my friend Antoine Sahnawi, who's sitting right here, who really took the chance to finance the film, The Insult. So, really. It was a shot in the dark when a friend of mine, he says, why don't you give us your script and maybe we could do it? And I didn't believe at all that somebody from Lebanon would finance a movie because we don't really have an industry. And then I meet this guy who read the script, and then we meet, and he says, yeah, I like it, I'll do it. I didn't take it seriously. I thought it was bullshit. And then about a couple of months later, he said, you want it? Let's go do it. And Antoine followed me from the first step to the very last step. Every time we needed help, financial help especially, he was there. And today I thank you, Antoine. And I could go on and talk a lot about what's going on. It's just, I really hope, honestly, in order for us as a human not to lose faith in the justice system, that things get resolved in the Middle East, because it really affects us a lot, tremendously. I want to tell you just the last story. Last week, a couple of months ago, President Macron asked me to follow him to Beirut. He went to Beirut to inaugurate the new government. I think for the first time we actually, since my birth, the first time we have a decent government. So Macron, who I'm following, he asked me to join him after the big seaport explosion. If you remember that happened, that kind of destroyed a lot of part of the city. I went with him back then, literally 1 week after the explosion, and the city was pretty much destroyed. 2 months ago, he called me and he says, I would like you to come to Beirut with me. So we took the plane, we landed at 6 a.m., and we went through the same street where we walked 2 weeks after the explosion. Listen, this is very important what I'm telling you. We walked that street. A lot of that street was rebuilt back to, it's an old street, so it has its own architecture. And then at the end of the street, it's called Jamaiza Street, which was about 200 yards away from the explosion. It was pretty much rebuilt the way it was, and at the end of the street, there's a billboard. And on that billboard, ladies and gentlemen, there were all these organizations that help rebuild Beirut. And on top of that list is USAID. Do not underestimate, do not underestimate how much American generosity means to the world. Really, it does. I mean, the French are extremely generous, but France has been so involved in Lebanon since a long time. When you see US aid that's taken away, it takes kind of away the idea that we foreign think of America, the generosity. It was very good to see that sign, and it was very sad for me when it was taken down. Thank you all. Thank you.